Are you planning on racing 70.3 Bolton? If so, this is the video for you because part of my ongoing race review series, I am going to dive into Bolton based on my athlete's experience and share all the info you need to know. Okay, but who am I? My name is Coach Steve or Stephen Moody from Dublin, Ireland. I am a Ironman U certified coach, was a long time Ironman and 70.3 distance racer, but also now recently I'm a YouTuber who specializes in reviews of 70.3s and Ironmans distance races around the world. I started doing this, capturing this information based on races I had done personally, but now I reach out to my cool network of athletes, race organizers, race directors, and race announcers even a couple of times, and local coaches, who have all the information on local races, so I can talk to you about at least over 100 races around the world. So if you want to check out other 70.3s, their link in the comments below. But today it's all about 70.3 Bolton. And let's dive in, if we excuse the pun, at the swim start. Okay, so I have my notes. It is a one loop course, and it is in the nice lake in Angleterre or England. And it is from the key things to note about the swim start. It's a rolling swim start, which I'll cover in the next slide about how that works and how best to seed yourself. It is in the lake, and there will be the option of a practice swim the day before. We'll talk about that in the timetable. You do need to register. I'll go through that in the timetable. But as I said, it's a simple enough out and back swim was it loop. So there's not an awful lot to it in terms of technical turns, etc. You've got your, was it turning points here straight, and then you've got your swim exit. What can you expect in the water? Good news is it's always been a wetsuit legal swim. It will be a little bit chilly in the lake, so you expect a wetsuit legal swim. The water reports are, it is murky. It's not exactly crystal clear like you'll find in Klagenfurt, where you can see the bottom of the lake, etc. So the water is murky, and there's lots of weeds as well. So you'll find that around this part of the swim. So expect to find a little bit of weed action here. Da, da, da. It is a pontoon start where you're hopping in off a pontoon into the water. So again, what I would recommend is beforehand as well, get a bit of water, splash it onto your face so you're not hopping into the water and it's a complete shock. It will be a little bit chilly. Typically, the water has been reported as calm because it's in a lake and it's sheltered, so there's nothing really to worry about in terms of chop, etc. And seeing as it's a lake, to worry about sharks and jellyfish. You might see the odd fish. As I said, and just straight out in terms of sighting points, you will have all these buoys here on the side. That's one of your key sighting points. If you're a weak swimmer, I would recommend going wide here and wide here. Yes, you will add on extra couple of meters, but it means you will stay out of where these points, the turning buoys, they get a little bit congested and there's a little bit of fisk. Now, it gets a little bit physical, and if you're nervous, you don't want that, just go wide. Keep in open water. It is swim exit is upstairs, and then we have a quick run into transition here. We'll talk about transition and some transition tips as well. But it is a not an awful lot to it. It's not a Mallorca, was it, or a Ironman 70.3 Italy type transition where you're running for like a kilometer. It's top couple of 100 meters. So, but it is a little bit muddy. So we'll talk a little bit about transition now and how to get through that and some tips. So, wetsuit, we'll talk about some training sessions later on. If your head does get cold, you can use use two swim caps trick, but otherwise should be an uneventful, nice, calm swim for you. In terms of your time to get it done, you've 70 minutes. So that will be from you cross the timing mat, and I'll show you how that works in terms of the rolling or seated swim start. So Ironman, a few years back brought in this innovation because they lots of athlete feedback. The reason they wouldn't do a 70.3 or an Ironman distance race is because they're nervous of the swim. Because they used to see the videos of Ironman Lanza, Ironman Nice, where you have all these athletes thousands of them all bailing in at once, and it's incredibly impressive, but scares the bejesus out of people. So what Ironman does now is they have a rolling, a seated swim start, but essentially this is how it works. When you come on the morning, you will have different pens or corrals marked out, and they'll have under 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes. It's vital that you honestly seed yourself and put yourself in the time that equates to what you expect to finish the swim in. So if you swim 2 minutes in the 2 minutes per hundred in the pool, realistically, you're going to be looking at between like a 40-minute swim. So that's where you put yourself. You put yourself in the 35-minute to 40-minute corral. Okay. And then how does that pan out? That allows Ironman to release the faster swimmers into the water at the start. And you can see this here where you have um that will be say the pen for the 30 to 35-minute swimmers because they've already started and you can see four swimmers are in the water at the moment. But the volunteers will be here and say thank you to your volunteers. They've given up time for you to enjoy your rather expensive hobby. Um they will literally hand their hands out like as I have here. There will be a machine that gives an audible beep every 5 to 8 seconds, depends on how they set it up. They'll lift their arms, and one, two, three, four will go into the water. Faster swimmers at the front, and off they go. So, your job here is simple. Be honest, seed yourself, and don't make the mistake. You go, ooh, I'm tight to 60 minutes. Maybe I'll go in an earlier corral and give myself more time. It doesn't work that way. It is based on this timing chip, your chip on which you'll have on your left ankle from the day onwards, that will beep and that will record your time. That's your start time, and then you've got 70 minutes from you entering there. If you put yourself in with the fish, the sub 30-minute swimmers, what will happen is they will swim over you because they're faster, stronger, and they don't give a crap that you're in the wrong place. So that's the one of the reasons why it's a bad idea to put yourself in a too faster corral. Another reason what you'll miss out is if you're what you want to do in an Ironman swim is draft, and that's when you swim on someone's hip or on their feet, and they break the water tension for you. It's like when you're swimming behind your pal in the pool. It's easier when you're chasing the bubbles. So if you put yourself in a load of swimmers who are going to swim 130s and you're a 2-minute swimmer, you're not going to hold their feet. If you put yourself in with lots of people with who are going to swim around 2 minutes per hundred, that will be your tribe. You will find their feet, you will all stick together, and it will make for an easier day. So, people, lesson was a moral of the story is seed yourself correctly. It will set yourself up for a really good day. Seed yourself incorrectly will mean you get dunked, you might lose your goggles, and it'll be a shit day. So, that's how your swim will start. And as I said, that's into the pontoon, but that's how they let them in. And remember, as I said, thank your volunteers. They are very nice people. Typically, triathletes like ourselves. Okay, on to the transition area. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about transition bags. If you are new to Ironman distance racing, this is in Europe. They tend to use a what they call a clean transition, as opposed to a traditional transition. Traditional transitions where you put everything by your bike and you lay out your runners and your helmet, etc. Ironman, because they have a couple of thousand people in a field, they try to keep it as compact as possible. And by doing that, they control it by using what they call a clean transition system. This means you have bags. You have the blue bag, which is your swim to bike bag, and you have your red bag, which is your bike to run bag. Now, key thing with Ironman Bolton, it's a split transition. That means you have where you transition from your swim to bike is a different location to where you will transition from your bike to run. A little bit of logistics in there, but I'll talk to it at the end. But essentially, when you're coming out of the transition area, and I'll go through a little video and here I'll do a little map of that there. You will have laid out a blue bag of which when you're coming out of the water, you will run past and you will take your wetsuit off and you will put your wetsuit and your goggles and your hat into that blue bag. At the same time, well, beforehand, you will have taken out your helmet, you will have taken out your sunglasses, if it's going to be a cold day, your wind jacket, etc. And then that's how you transition. So the blue bag and all the information you need to know what the handle is kind of here. This is part of the, and there's also, if you look in the, it might sound confusing, but there's a video in the comments below that actually visually lays out this is how it works, and this is what you put in the blue bag, this is what you put in the red bag, this is what you put in the white bag. Oh my God, what's white bag? Streetwear. And please note, at 70.3 distance, there is no what they call special or personal needs bags. They're additional bags that you can pick up on the course if you have specific nutrition needs, etc. Not in 70.3 in Ironman. That's another video. So what I would advise is just be aware you will have for Bolton, you will have the new, you'll have to pack these bags the night before, the blue bag and your red bag. And because it's a split transition in two different places, you need to drop those bags off as part of your prep the day before. And I will cover that in the video as we go along. Okay, so that's one of the key things you'll need to know. And let's have a look at what the transition looks like. So you will be transitioning from the swim. So this is where you're running. And again, it's a little bit muddy, as I said, but don't worry. There's nothing that'll clear. There's not going to be like too much concrete, so it's fine. You will be running into your change tent, and where you can actually get changed in here. Allows you to, well, if you want to change into a whole sort of do fresh set of clothing, etc. Or if you've just got a tri-suit, it means that you're just taking off the wetsuit, putting in the blue bag, etc., taking out your helmet. Key thing, you cannot touch your bike until you have your helmet fastened. If you do, that's going to be possibly a penalty or stop go. It depends on how they're operating it. But in terms of your flow, you will be running through, you will have picked up your bag, your blue bag along the way. You will have run, and then you will have changed the tent. And as you're running, you'll chuck your blue bag in here. There'll be volunteers to grab it, so that'll be good. And then you will run out here. And as Ironman will use a numbered racking system, you will get your actual number when you register. You go the night before, the day before, or on the Friday or Saturday when you register and check in. Key tip here: the numbers are allocated now. They print them off as you register. So if you want to be with all your pals, register at the same time. Because if you're athlete number 100, then if your pal registers behind you, they're number 101. That means you'll all be racked together. Kind of cool. But you, as part of your recce the day before, when you drop off your blue bag, I highly recommend you walk what this route will be. Take pictures of where you are. So therefore you know your ins and outs, and it won't be a panic when you come in on the race morning and you're trying to find your bike. But if you've walked it and taken some pictures, you go like, oh, my bike is here, which is in line with, there's a big tree here. Apologies for the drawing. I skipped art class. And you'll know that you have to run to the last rack, run down here, and you pick up your bike, and then you'll run out this way, come past out here. There will be, is it this mount line? You cannot get on your bike until your full entirety of your bike, both wheels, pass that mount line. So that's another key point. When you're walking the transition the day before, when you're checking in your blue bag, make sure you walk. Where is the swim exit? What's the steps? Where am I going to come up those steps? What's the run like? Where's the change tent? And walk it and go, okay, all right. That's where my bag I chuck my blue bag. That's where my bike will be. That's where it's going to be racked, and you will rack it the night before. There's the mount line. And so for you on the day, it's smooth, it's controlled, and it's easy to do. And therefore you don't panic. And those guys who you'll see in videos who are lost in transition and are running up and down and they're losing energy and they're losing was it time? Whereas a good solid transition in 70.3, it can be anything between 5 to 12 minutes. And if you think about it, if you want to go under 6 hours, if you want to go under 5.5 hours, if you can get your transition done in 6 minutes, and then your finish time is, was it 6:05? You'll be raging it if you took 12 minutes in transition. Okay. So remember the blag system, use the video to pack them, walk the transition, take lots of pictures. Was it go through it in your race strategy and go, okay, right, this is what I need to do. This is where we'll come from the swim exit. Smooth and controlled. Okay, right. So we've gone through our transition. We're about to go on the bike. Guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. And if you are, please give us a thumbs up because it helps the channel. And if you are interested in, if you have other races coming up, you have a lot of full distance later on, make sure you actually check out, subscribe to the channel because I do reviews of full distance races and also have other training tips about Ironman nutrition, 70.3 nutrition, transition tips, training tips, etc. So please subscribe, check out the other channel, comment, let us know how you get on. We'd love to know. And again, got into this channel so I can help people. And just a little bit of a thumbs up would help me right back. And there's a little bit of karma. So, okie doke. Right, on to the bike course. Right, as I said, it is a good bike course. There are some loops in it, which we'll talk through now. There things to note, which my guys have fed back on. First off, the road surface is not brilliant. If you're coming from like to America, if you come from Europe, the road surface is not as pristine as what we will be used to. So it's kind of what we would call secondary road style. So it's good solid road, but there will be potholes and there will be sort of mixed surface. So just be prepared for that. Key thing there, by the way, is making sure that on your bike everything is secured nicely, because otherwise you don't want your garment to bounce off. You don't want your rear bottle to bounce off if you hit a bit of a pothole. Just make sure everything's secure. So, in terms of how the course will come out, this is our start. As I said, you do this one, and you do two loops of this start here, which will get you past the 20-mile part, of which you will pass, I said, for one of the first aid stations that are around 21 miles. We'll talk about nutrition in a second. And then you're on to the A57 and going along this course again. In terms of the elevation of this course, it isn't as what you call it. There's 830 meters of elevation in it. There's no big, massive hills on it, like a Heartbreak Hill or like a Solarberg or like any of them, like Luke Hill and 70.3 Mallorca, but it is undulating, as in it's a fair bit of rolling on this hill. So again, when you're doing your training, and I give some training tips later on, make sure you include some of that sort of course profile that you're used to staying either in a big ring or you've got good gear management going on, that you can go up and down the gears and make sure you don't lose too much effort. Um, that said, as I said, so you're up the A57 in the towns, by the way, in Bolton itself. One of the key bits of feedback where there are more potholes and manhole covers in these areas, so you need to have your wits about you. That because especially if it rains, and it did in 2024, it was quite slippy. So when you're in the towns, more alert. On these other kind of secondary roads between joining up, the potholes aren't as prevalent. Bum, bum, bum. So we're up the what you call it, the A57. Again, it's past the 30-mile mark. There's another aid station there. You do this other kind of outer loop, where you come around, and then you're back onto the screen loop, the A676. Um, coming along up here again, and you'll have this kind of dog leg again, and in, and then into transition two. As I said, there's not a huge amount of elevation in terms of, you have around 35 miles and 50 miles. You repeat that kind of that hill there, but it's that it's not a big, massive climb of huge gradient. They're punchy little hills, but not something that, as I said, are massively going to burn out your legs if you pace it well. Key thing with an R70.3 bike is that you're fueling and pacing yourself the entire time. Remember, you're not only fueling for the bike itself, you're also fueling for the half marathon that's coming up. Next question that people always ask, is this a TT or a time trial bike or a road bike? If you had the option. My guys have said, yes, the road surface is decent. There's not enough huge amount of hills that would actually rule against. If you have a TT bike, and if you have a disc wheel, use it. You will get the benefit from that. That said, as well, the way that is, there's not a huge amount of, it's not historically very windy, and where it is, you're pretty sheltered. So that if you have that option and you're wondering, TT bike and disc wheel, bring your toys. Okay, so we finish in transition two. As I said, this is, separate. This is our separate transition from this. In order to get this done, you have from when you pass the swim timing mat and you go through transition. Remember, short and sharp. And the bike, you have 5.5 hours to get it done. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about aid stations. Now this is something that I'm big on. There are aid stations in 70.3 racing and Ironman racing are high reward yet high risk. And what do I mean by this? You need to know where the aid stations are and avail of them to make sure you are fueled enough to cover the was it 90k bike and the 20 and the 21k run. So you will need to know, and you don't want to be carrying all your fuel with you because that's just extra weight. And if there's aid stations which you have water, precision hydration, gels, bananas, bars, etc., know where they're on the course. So, and avail of them because it will keep you fueled. But what do I mean by high risk? Now, there's a key thing here, that this aid station, and there will be a start of aid station trash, end of aid station trash. Sorry, I should say rubbish. I've been doing American videos. This is the only part on the course where you can chuck empty bottles, banana peels, gel wrappers, whatever. Because if you don't and you chuck them in the beautiful, was it UK, was it English countryside, you'll get spotted and you'll get a DQ. Really dumb way to get a DQ. And we really don't appreciate it as athletes because if we trash the local area, typically councils, locals won't allow us to come back and we ruin it for everyone. So please, 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 it's an Ironman rule. Only ditch any bottles, empty bottles, or empty wrappers, etc. at the start of the aid station, at the end of the aid station. Rant over. But back to my point about it being high risk. So think about it. It's the only place people can throw bottles. Only way people can chuck gel wrappers. So there's bits and pieces moving. And there's people, volunteers are stepping out and handing out bottles to people and handing out stuff, and things get knocked over. So there's lots of moving parts. There's athletes moving in, athletes moving out. So please, when you come to an aid station, know where it is. Don't think, oh, it's an aid station. You know, saw the map there. Slow down. Communicate with your fellow athletes. I'm going into the aid station, don't just suddenly veer across. Um, Communicate with the volunteer. Look at them. Water, please, please, please. Again, please and cues. Good manners never go out of fashion, even if you are racing an Ironman. Grab bottle. Thank you. Secure the bottle and then tug out. I'll come in again to athletes coming out, and therefore, like, make sure that you're aware. So that's really key. As I said, they're located at roughly on 10 miles, 21 miles, 29 miles, and 45 miles. Easy to remember. Print this off and write it on your stem. So even in when the race brain hits, you'll remember. That's you got. You've got energy gel bars, and at least it was last year. We don't expect that to change. Precision Hydration still has the contract with Ironman, which is great. We don't have to suffer mortal hydration. Actually, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but apparently the Americans don't like it. So aid stations, know where they are, build it into your nutrition strategy, and know how to use them. In terms of nutrition strategy, I have a video in the comments below that will tell you how to plan that out. In terms of using an aid station, I've demo videos about what you need to practice in the comments below. Please check them out. Please give them a like and give me a comment and say whether or not they tell us how they helped you. I know they will help you. They've helped thousands of athletes already. So I just want you guys to be the next. Okay, so we're now into our T2. And again, it's different to T1. So we're transitioning from bike to run. So we're now in a red bag. So this is our red bag. This is the stuff that you're going to get in here. And mainly you're going to put your helmet in. You're going to put your runners in. Top tip here as well. You cannot take your helmet off until you've racked your bike. If you do, you'll get and you'll get seen by a marshal, you will get a penalty. Again, rack bike, then take off helmet, and then head. So how does the transition flow work for our our bike to run? Okay, so we will be coming in. In the bike. We are coming in on the bike. So you're coming in on the bike here. Dismount line. You have to stop the bike entirely before you get off it. There'll be a line here. There'll be marshals with flags. Listen to them. You will be running in here. Now you remember when we're talking about walking the course beforehand. This is your ins and outs again. You will have walked and obviously figure out a new point where you're going to be racking your bike, which will equate to your number, 100, whatever. So let's just assume it's here. You will have walked that the day before when you dropped off your red bag. You will have taken a picture. It's in line with a big, let's just say this time it's a porty potty of doom. Okay, there you go. I was going to draw a little poo there, but I don't think my artistic depth goes that far. Anyhow, so you will have walked that, so you will know that going up here, I'm one, two, three, four, five racks up, and then I come down here, I'm halfway down, it's in line with the Portaloo, rack the bike. Then as you're running towards the change tents, the red back racks, you can take the helmet off. Um, you will also have taken pictures of where you've racked your red bags. When you actually put your bags in the day before, there's a racking system and it will equate the number. So you'll go to 0 to 100 and you won't be at the very end. And then get there and get out. Some top tips about transitioning in T2. Nothing good happens in T2. That's a phrase we have in our squad because lots of people sit down, they'll talk to someone and they'll go, "Oh my bike was, a little harder. I dropped my bottle." Don't have conversations. As soon as you get your runners on, you can move, right? You can, at that stage, you don't need to be sitting there to put your baseball cap on or your bib on or take a gel. Put your runners on and start running towards the run exit because the only thing that lives in transition two are other people's problems. You can talk to these people after you finish the race. The minute you have your runners on, get your ass in gear and start running towards the run exit here. Okay? So transition two should be a damn sight quicker than transition one. And we're deliberate on that because if we slow down and we sit down, we allow our muscles to cramp up. And he said the minute you're moving towards the next aid station, you're moving towards the finish line, and that is what we want out of life. So transition two, in and out. That's my top piece of advice to you. Okay, and now we're on to our run section, which is it is a two loop course. And as I said, mainly a bit of a mixed what you call it, the surface. You will be running on cobbles in the town, mainly tarmac, and then there will be some sort of off-road, a little bit of kind of grass in the park, and there's some hills in the park. So just be aware of that. I'll talk out to terrain for them now. So where are we? We are starting here. We are transitioning here, and we follow our run course out here. Okay, so where do we start? Okay. So we're out running along here. This will come down to where we are 1 mile. Oh, I really need to tidy that up. 1 second. Dum, 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 dum. Yikes. Okay. Right. So the run does take you through the town and it takes you around here. There's a fair bit of kind of noise here because they were near the finish line and that's where a really good place for spectators to hang out. You will head into the park and where, as I said, there's a bit of elevation here at this point. You can see. Dun, dun, dun. So and just build it in. So a little bit of hill work I'm going to talk about in training, but overall, what I recommend to athletes when they're racing a your first half marathon off the bike, break it into three kind of sections. Section one is kind of 7K, or where you're kind of getting yourself, you're finding your legs off the bike, and making sure you don't go out too fast because you've got to pace yourself and fuel this area. Section two is when you're kind of from 8K onwards, where I tell guys to get into your kind of race pace, kind of you found your legs, you're a bit comfortable, start hitting the paces you would have hit in your long race pace runs in the build up to this. And the last section is kind of like 14 to 21, where it's getting really tired, your legs are really tired, you're kind of dropping off the pace. That's when it really have to dig in mentally and kind of get it done. But it does, as I said, the good news is there's not a huge amount of elevation in this. There are hills, but there are a couple of drags here, but they're not massive climbs as well, so you can pace yourself well. Another tip I say is the aid stations are roughly every kind of mile, so the way you pass them. So do not miss an aid station. Make sure you keep fueled and topped up in terms of hydration, fuel, etc. And make sure that you keep going until you actually hit the finish line. And the finish line is epic. In terms of getting it done, you have swim, T1, bike, T2, and run time. You've got 8.5 hours to get it done. So, little this is about the aid stations for the run, slightly different as you have water, precision hydration, but you have Coke as well. You've got other food, which is and bars and gels and precision, etc. There's a little bit different here because there's more variety because you can actually stop off. There's, as I said, the sweets and salted snacks. Cola. I tend to hold off having cola until 11K onwards because once you kind of crack that kind of sugary badness, as in you need to keep topped up, and there's only so much Coke your body can take. But it is a great kind of kick up the arse if you're kind of flagging. Try to, as I said, pick it at the second half of the run rather than early. This is your finish line. Great support in Bolton. They ran a superb full distance Ironman here, and they're very proud of it. So there's a lot of kind of Ironman nuts in here, and they're very happy to help everyone out. So they will have a great finish line experience. This is what you kind of look at the day before, visualize this, try to dig in your last kind of, as I said, that last kind of 10K, 8K, 7K, when your legs are fried and you're kind of gone, oh, I want to walk. This is what you think about. Think about the crowds, think about your why, think about your family, think about your support, think about all the sacrifice you've made and push on. You've only got 7, 6, 5, whatever kilometers that when that kind of the little gremlin comes in your shoulder goes, you can't do this. Right, so just a little bit on prep before we talk about the actual schedule. If you are looking at this and it's a few months out, here's some sort of advice I will give you if you're training for your first Ironman, 70.3. Um, in terms of swimming, base, I recommend you get 2, 3 sessions in a week, depending on, again, this is all based on whether or not you're a, uh, I don't know what athlete it might be, but if I would say to my athletes, you train to your weaknesses and race to your strengths. So if you're a really strong swimmer, you don't need 3 swim sessions a week. You need two. And you're a weak biker, you need more bike sessions. So this is just assuming the average athlete. But for the base, where you're kind of building up your aerobic fitness and you're just getting into it, which you should be in around now anyhow, if we're not in the build. Swimming 2 to 3 rounds a week. One's going to be an endurance session, one's going to be a technical session, and one tends to be a speed session. Do hop in with a club if you have the option. Build. This is where you get more race specific. Very make sure you practice open water swimming, OWS, because swimming in a lake is way different to a pool. Getting used to a wetsuit, drafting in that water, sighting, example, when you're actually like making sure you're swimming in a straight line and not towards the coast are key skills you'll need to do. The bike, again for the base, I would say 2 to 3 bikes a week, one of which will be a long bike at the weekend. These can be done indoor if the weather's crap, but ideally, what you really want to be doing it as much as possible is getting outdoors, particularly for the long bikes. And you can do this with pals, training clubs, training partners, etc. So you get technical skills. You know how to be able to pick up your bottle and drink from your bottle. You know how to brake. You know how to corner, etc. You know how to avoid a pothole. So in the base, and if you do want to use indoor smart trainers, the course, the 70.3 Bolton course is available on Moody. And by the way, you can also, if you use Training Peaks, you have the ability to upload the actual GPX file, which I'll have in the links below. So you can actually do that on Training Peaks Virtual, which is kind of cool. It just gives you the change the elevation and the resistance as you go along. I'll put a video in the comments how to demonstrate that later on. Build again, you should be hitting at least was it 90 to 100K in your long bikes. Again, covering climbing, that kind of undulating profile as discussed, rather than the big massive hills. 800 meter climbing, so your legs know what it feels to run to do that on the bike. I would also say that in the build you should do hill repeats midweek, as in sort of slow, long, slow, hard hills to actually build your climbing muscles. In the build again, you should actually look at fine tuning your nutrition. As I said, what are you going to eat? How are you going to eat it? When you're going to eat it? It sounds a bit daft, but you need to practice this. How you're going to carry the food, and just practice out different options. And again, I talk about that in my race nutrition video. Test your equipment and build. Are you going to use a TT bike? Yes, you are. Okay, cool. Make sure you used to be going on the aero bars. Make sure if you're going to use a disc brakes for the first time, make sure you know it has that feel. You don't want to turn up on race day with a brand new bike and never used it. Something will go wrong. Run wise, again, base 2 weeks, 2 sessions a week minimum, three if you can, more if you're a weak runner. But one of those should be a long run. In the base, you only need to build up to 14, 16K. You don't need to be doing any like a half marathon each week. You'll only probably get even close to that during the build phase. But just building up really nice, slow, easy miles that you've got the miles in the legs and comfortable. Build, I talk to guys getting the long run should be around 18 to 20K, and some of that should be at race pace, what your target should be in terms of your intensity or what pace you want to hit. Again, if you know what your zones are, etc. Also be doing bricks, even short bricks off the midweek bikes are great, just even 1, 2K. Just gives the body and the mind, okay, we finished cycling, now we go running. 500 meters out, 500 meters back. It's invaluable. But off your long bike, you don't need to be doing 10, 15K off the bike. Not at all. I would cap my guys at 3, 5, 7K, depending on the level that they're at, if they're beginner, intermediate, advanced. But again, you'll know that yourself. And again, work out your nutrition as in what do you need to fuel on your long runs? Do you need a gel every 7K, every half an hour? Make sure you have that tail down. And also the Morton gels. Expensive, but that's what's on course. Although, and if you find out you don't like Morton gels, bring your own and know how you're going to carry them. Okay, guys. The venue. It's some key things to note about on your race week. You can register on Friday or Saturday. By the way, this is from last year's timetable. Oh, this video is not intended to replace the athlete guide or the race briefing. It's meant to supplement it. So make sure you check when the athlete guide goes out that none of this changes because this can change year to year. And also attend the athlete guide and the athlete briefing because sometimes they change something on the course. If there's a reason that one of the road closed and have to shut down, there might be a no overtaking part. Attend. But based on previous years, they've had the option to register on Friday and Saturday between those times. Now again, remember you will need to drop your red bag off and your blue bag and your bike off in two different locations. So you need to kind of build that into your logistics. So you can do the red bag is going to be close to where the kind of registration finish line is, yada yada yada. So that's where you can do that on the Friday, the Saturday, depending on your timetable. And as I said, there's the option of the practice swim. Do this because, as I said, the water can be murky. There's weeds. You kind of get a little bit of sighting points, etc. The boys will be out between 11 and 1 has been historically on Saturday. You do need to register. Can't just rock up. Saturday, T1 is open where you can drop your bike and your blue bag off. You will also pick up your timing chip here. You don't get that registration because this is our man way of making sure that you are going to turn up and race rather than hand out timing chips and they go like, oh, we handed out 3,000 timing chips and only 2,500 raced because some people turn up just to get the bag and the swag. But if you checked in the bike, you're game ball. So just bear that in mind. Race morning transition opens between 4:30 and closes at 6. My advice, get there early. You're not going to sleep well the night before anyhow. Something magic about transition on a race day morning. Things will go wrong, but which if you give yourself time, plenty to fix. If you go and find it, your bike is punctured overnight or someone's knocked off your derailleur, if you're there at 5 and you have an hour to get it fixed, no stress. If you're there at 10 to 6 and you've got 10 minutes to get it fixed, mega stress. You will kick off and you will have the time of your life from 6:15 onwards. It is a super course. It is well run. The Brits love their Ironman, and you will have a super day. So if you've Any questions or queries, post them in the comments below. I tend to monitor videos and answer them as much as I can. And otherwise, I hope your training goes well. I hope that you will have a great race in Bolton. And I hope that you'll give the video a like. And if you're looking for other videos or you'll tell your friends, happy to help. Otherwise, enjoy the Ironman UK.